Yo guys, this is Nate, and I'm back for another audio commentary for WCReplays.com. And today I'm going to be showing you guys the Undead versus Undead matchup in a ghouls versus ghouls situation. So let's go ahead and get this replay opened up. Alright, so this game is on the two rivers, and it is between myself, slide.viet as Undead, versus nice.tekken as Undead. I'm currently level 17 on Azeroth, and nice.tekken I think is level 10. Hasn't played too many games, but this was a pretty good game. Let's take a good example of how I like to handle this matchup. So let's put this under my vision and pause at 15 seconds at 1x speed with Fog of War on. So go ahead and give you guys a couple seconds to sync up there, or longer. So anyway, hopefully you guys are at 15 seconds by now, so let's unpause in 3, 2, 1, unpause. Alright, so I'm putting up a Crypt and Ziggurat. Usually I'd put that Ziggurat between my gold mine and my necropolis, but I like to have that one out front for no reason, just because, I don't know, it kind of walls off part of my base, so it makes it a bit harder. And that's also the side that my opponent will generally approach from when they're coming towards my base, at least straight on. So it gives me a few extra seconds to defend my acolytes, sort of. And that's why I'm putting that altar out. So I'm trying to I don't want to clog up my gold mine. Generally, because your opponent will, in this matchup especially, go after your acolytes. And although it can be good to have a lot of buildings there because it becomes much easier to trap their hero, it also becomes much harder to actually kill their units. So it's really a personal choice. But I prefer the more maneuverability kind. And also I'll put my later tech buildings back there, which is a very important thing. So when choosing your base layout, if you're gonna put your buildings next to your gold mine, you also have to realize that your new tech buildings are going to be much more vulnerable than if you put it like this, where your opponent can't just walk into your base and kill your buildings quite so easily. Now, in this matchup, it's also very important to get a Tomb of Relics, as you've seen I just put up. And it has the same build time as your hero, so if you build it right at the same time as your hero, you'll be fine. And the reason it's so important is simply because your opponent can actually get it. And early on in the game, having 4 skeletons running around makes a big difference, and it's important to not set yourself back like that. So you got to make sure you keep up with your opponent. And if anything, it can be used very effectively for creeping and very effectively in an offensive manner. So it's certainly not a bad thing. Now he scouted me with the ghoul, and I don't know why. Oh, now this game was from a little while ago. Now I pretty much always scout my opponent. It's very important to scout your opponent to see what they're doing. If you see a Tomb of Relics, it's a good chance they're going to come try and rush you. Whereas if you don't, then good chance they're not going to. So it's very important to scout your opponent, and I talked about this in previous Undead versus Undead commentaries. But in this game I don't. In this game I'm just planning on walking towards his base. If he's going Lich, then I'm just going to go ahead and pick Sleep and surround his hero just straight away. It's very important to sleep him before he gets a Nova off. If he's gone Dreadlord, or if he's gone any other hero, I'm going to go for Carrion Swarm. Simply because it's very hard to sleep surround the other heroes, as they're much more maneuverable than the Lich. And just much more durable. So the Lich is the only one I'd really pick Sleep against. Unless my opponent came right into my base, because Sleep can get them to teleport out. So you see, I'm not choosing my hero skill, and I'm just kind of going towards his base. Now at this point I generally only go with 5 ghouls and leave 1 at home. This really sets you back to not have that extra wood. Now, there's a couple things here. First of all, now you see that I walked in and I walked out. There's a few reasons for that. One is that he was still in tier 1, which means that if any acolytes I killed wouldn't really damage him so much in the long run as if he had been teching and then I'd killed acolytes, and then that really hurts if your opponent's teching. Second, he's got dual crypt, which means he's got more ghouls than me, which means it's not a good idea to hang around. And third, he's got that Nerubian tower. Now, if I had just scouted, I wouldn't have wasted my time and gone there. So you see, that whole little 2-minute fiasco there was really a waste of time, and that could have been avoided by scouting. So now you'll see that I've gone back. I chose Carrion Swarm. Why did I choose Carrion Swarm? Because I saw that he was going dual crypt and he was not attacking very quickly, which means he was definitely massing ghouls. And since I saw so many ghouls, which means that I'm going to be going for mainstream mass AoE kind of thing. Now I'm scouting with the skeleton warrior. Because it's very important when they do that dual crypt kind of thing, it's very, very common to fast expand, and you cannot let your opponent get a fast expansion up in the Frozen Throne. So I'm scouting with that skeleton warrior. And my plan is just to, as long as he keeps massing ghouls, I'm just going to go try hero AoE, get frenzy, get statues. I know I can out-tech him. And I'm basically going to fight and get healing scrolls. And basically I'm going to fight his mass ghouls with not as many ghouls of my own, but much stronger heroes, hopefully. So now I see what he's doing. I'm definitely sure he's massing ghouls at this point, because I know he didn't have that graveyard up. And he's teching, so I can just kind of take it easy and creep now. And I know I'm ahead of him in tech. Now, previously I might have recommended necro rushing or something, but the fact is, gargoyles are a very effective counter to necro rushing. If your opponent comes into your base with a bunch of necromancers, just simply target the necromancers with gargoyles, and they'll die very, very quickly. So it's not as easy to out-tech your opponent, because you have only the anti-magic for Undead is in tier 3. But simply killing the necromancers outright and then waiting for the skeletons to run out works okay for that. Which is why I'm not going to be doing that, which is instead why I'm going to fight him ghouls versus ghouls. However, I know I can beat him to frenzy, and I know I can beat him to statues because I'm ahead in tech at this point. I know I can also beat him to a third hero, and so I'm going to try and capitalize on that. Also simply because my micro is much better with the heroes than with ghouls. You see, I already lost the ghoul creeping, which wasn't too smart. So again, it's just a question of creeping now. I want to stay alongside of him in terms of hero levels. I want to keep scouting and make sure he doesn't expand. And I'm doing okay. If you turn off Fog of War, you'll see he's just massing ghouls as predicted. And he's only got one hero, but so do I. I mean, basically, it's just mass ghouls versus mass ghouls. And it'll get much more interesting when you get down to the micro, because there's no outside factors. Both races have the exact same thing to pit against each other. And so it's really a question of micro and how effectively you micro your stuff. So putting Fog of War back on now. So I'm just going off the creep, putting up a slaughterhouse. Basically my plan again is just to go try hero AoE, being Dreadlord, Cryptlord, Lich, get healing scrolls and skeleton wands on each hero, and frenzy and statues. Now the reason I'm going Cryptlord second as opposed to Lich, and I like to do this in ghouls versus ghouls when I'm sure really mass ghouls, is the Cryptlord is incredibly effective against ghouls. If you can hit, and you can hit a lot of ghouls when they line up, because generally what happens in these ghoul versus ghoul battles is that the ghouls line up alongside one another, and then you can get off really nice AoE. So you put your Cryptlord at the end of the line of ghouls fighting, and you can impale all those ghouls and give your ghouls a ton of free hits. And that combined with Nova and Swarm is absolutely devastating. And so that's why I like to get that Cryptlord, because once you get that impale is just very effective. Whereas Nova, also being very effective, is not as effective versus that line of ghouls, I think, which is very prone to happen. So, and then I'll be going Lich third. Now, often I would have gone Death Knight third, but since he's not really choosing heroes that are gonna be offensive, and you'll see he's actually going Cryptlord second. I don't know this, but considering that he went Dreadlord first, he's not going to really targeting heroes so much. At least I'm assuming he didn't go sleep. So I don't need to worry as much about losing my hero, so I don't need that Death Coil as much. And the Unholy Aura isn't really all that important, to be honest. Now I'm going to want to hit soon, because I'm definitely ahead of him in tech. You see, I've got the statues, and we look at... He's got a statue too, but I'm going to have Frenzy, and he's not going to have Frenzy. I guess I researched it already. And even though he has more ghouls, it's only a marginal number, and the fact that I have Frenzy is going to let me win this battle. Also, the fact that I've got my second hero and my third hero almost out gives me a big advantage. Now, the one thing he's got there, though, that gives him an advantage over me is that Scroll of the Beast, which is really very good, and I usually just sell those for the 200 gold, but in a ghoul versus ghoul battle, that really makes a big difference. It means like all your ghouls are like 3-0 for the battle, which is definitely a pretty big deal. And you'll see now I'm researching. I like to get 1/1 upgrades much more now, simply to stay out of upkeep. It's generally a mistake to go into upkeep in this kind of situation. Now he actually went sleep, but I don't think he really knows what he's doing with it. So now, you'll see what I'm doing here is I'm just getting off as many spells as I can since I've basically got unlimited mana from my statues. Now you'll see how the ghouls line up there. And then Impale hit maybe 10 ghouls. The best way to do it would have been put the Crypt Lord at the north of the line and then run right down the line with that. And you'll see that's what he just did with his Crypt Lord, which is very good micro. Both of us are using those skeleton rods. And you're just constantly microing those. He's sleeping a Lich, but sleep, clearly, Carrion Storm would be serving him much better. His statues are also more well positioned. You'll see my statues aren't actually healing everything. But basically my heroes are just much stronger. I've got that third hero, and he just can't compete with that. Plus I had Frenzy. So that was a relatively evenly matched battle. I didn't really see why he TP'd out. I guess his hero was in trouble or something. Or else he was just out of units. But so now he's getting Frenzy. He's upgrading those ghouls. And I'm just sending those skeleton warriors to go and just see where he is while I recuperate. Now I know that I've got a perfectly okay army. I'm getting the destroyers now because if he's massing ghouls, even one destroyer wins you the battle. And I'm not exaggerating here because if you've got two statues, you turn one into a destroyer and you take the full mana off of your other statue, you're suddenly got a splash damage unit doing like 100 damage a hit. And that means that, you know, in 3 or 4 volleys, you're killing 3 or 4 ghouls from that splash. And that's a big deal. And if you can get another one, 2, 3 destroyers will win you the game straight away if your opponent has mass ghouls like that. Assuming they have full mana. Now I'm putting up that second crypt here, simply because first of all it's very possible for him to switch over to mass gargoyles, which could be a problem for me. But also that I know that I'm going to be having to break upkeep soon to keep up with him, and so I may have to go more ghouls. Now in this matchup it's actually quite viable to go abominations, which I've been doing more often simply because banshees suck now. But I don't know. So I think abominations might have been a better choice. I'm not really using the ghouls for their speed so much as just melee units. But so at this point, I'm trying to position myself near his graveyard. You'll see that I'm doing that. I walk in. That's because that my skeleton rods or rods of necromancy or whatever, I won't have to run around looking for corpses and clicking them 20 times. I can just click them and I'll get skeletons right there. You see, I try to combine my skeleton warriors with my lich in a group, and then I'll dark ritual on the skeleton warriors. And I'm just shooting off area of effect spells on as much of his stuff as I can, and constantly just summoning those skeletons. Those skeletons give you a big advantage because they benefit from the upgrades, and they're just free units, and they're really great to have. And with 3 heroes, 2, 3 heroes, all of those, you can have, you know, as many as 12 skeletons at once. That's like 12 extra ghouls. I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. And at this point, I'm just basically winning because my area of effect. He doesn't really have any area of effect spells, whereas I've got 3 area of effect, and of course my ghouls are just massacring him. So that's pretty much game over. Now, if he'd gone for more area of effect, the way to counter that would really have been healing scrolls, and I didn't see if he had a lot of healing scrolls or what, but he really should have bought some more, I think. And that would have been the way to kind of stay alive against all that area of effect. So that's game over. Another option for him might have been to try to go abominations. Something to combat all those ghouls. But basically, he lost 1 because his sleep that he got was completely useless against me. 2, he didn't really back his stuff with healing scrolls. And basically just it wasn't even so much micro, it's just that he got overwhelmed towards the end. And so, again, that's why I really don't like to choose sleep unless you're going to use it effectively. Throughout the game, he never used it effectively. That's why I like to get it against a Lich Rush, because you can actually sleep and surround the Lich, but he never slept the hero and then surround it. And so that's an entire hero skill that's kind of wasted. And level 2 hero skill at that. Whereas I had that level 2 Carrion Swarm, and that, begins to make a big advantage over time. And also that I had that third hero. So it was really the heroes in this matchup more than anything else that won it for me. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that game. Hope you learned a little bit about the Undead versus Undead matchup. So anyway, leave me feedback, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you around.